What's good, everyone? Your boy the Soloist bringing you another video. I came across this guy on YouTube. His name is Koi A Gaming. You'll have a link to all his stuff, his channel, the video that we're about to watch in the description below. And he comes up with these abstract concepts that we all sort of question, all sort of think about. And he just breaks it down in such a beautiful way. I watched like two or three of his earlier videos, and I really liked them. I wish I had reacted to them, but I'm not gonna be the guy that reacts to videos just to put it up. That's not how it goes. You guys know me, I know you. I feel like we gotta put it up. You guys know what I'm saying. Anyways, the point is we're gonna watch one of his videos today. It's gonna be analysis what makes move overpowered. All right, so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about in terms of the video contents he has. He thinks about the more abstract concepts and really tries to break down and figure it all out. I think it's a good video to watch. I feel like I'll learn something. You might learn something, and just something different, something that I don't think a lot of people, are taking time out to watch and sort of, learn from. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we're about to check it out right now. So, where is it? So yeah, just give me a sec. So here it is. Analysis, what makes a move overpowered? Now, actually I should give my thoughts on it. Just off the top of my head, what do I think makes a move overpowered? If it doesn't have the same frames, if you can use it over and over again without having a reset. Basically, if it doesn't have a moment in time where you can actually conquer it. Now what I mean by that is, if you have a punch that's so quick, and even when you punch and you miss, if I'm blocking, there's no way for me to get around that. You can still use it again, or even if I dodge, you can still catch me out something else. To me, that's something that's overpowered, that doesn't have a weakness. That's kind of how I tend to see it. But I'm sure he'll do a better job of it. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think is overpowered before you actually watch this video. I give you my 2 cents. Let me know yours. And yeah, without further ado, let's just jump into it. You know what I mean? Cool. All right.
Anyone who's ever played a fighting game has run into a move they thought was cheap, overpowered, or even broken. But how do we know if a move is actually too powerful, or if the player is just being a giant crybaby? Of course, anyone can tell why this move is powerful. But not as many can understand why this is powerful.
What game is that?
Some things like damage and range are clearly visible to the average spectator, but the stuff you can't see is usually where the supposed cheapness happens. I'm of course talking about frame data, the backbone of how fighting works in games. Frame data is something that fascinates me and bores people to death at the same time, and it certainly doesn't sound as sexy as other fighting game concepts like Guard Crush or Sex Kick. While you don't have to be a frame data god to enjoy these games, I feel that just understanding some basic concepts can help you realize the true potential of the move. Also, your whining will be rooted in more theory, and what's not to like about that? I'm going to start with hitboxes and hurtboxes. Often when you punch someone in a game, you're not actually hitting them with your fist. You're hitting them with an invisible hitbox, which is this red thing. And when you get hit, it's not your body that gets hit, it's your hurtbox. Depending on the game, the hit and hurtboxes more or less accurately coincide with the character animations. In Mortal Kombat X, the hurtboxes are directly attached to the actual 3D player model, which means you can be standing idle, but still have your hurtbox moving because of your breathing animation. The way you design these hit and hurtboxes affect the way the game feels, and is a way to make a move more powerful or weaker by changing their sizes. Generally, the cheaper move will trend towards a bigger hitbox and a smaller hurtbox. In addition to boxes, nearly every attack in a fighting game has 3 phases. They're called the startup, active, and recovery frames. But I think it helps to look at it as simply beginning, middle, and end. If you watch this famous clip of Holly Holm kicking Ronda Rousey in the head, the startup would be where she begins her kick and lifts her leg up. The active frames would be when her foot is capable of causing damage, and the recovery frames would be her leg going back down. Of course, each part of the kick has to be measured with a unit of time, and coincidentally we can use frames per second because this video clip and most fighting games run at 60 frames per second. So why does the duration of time for each phase of an attack matter? I think the best way to explain this is to use examples outside of hand-to-hand combat. Let's begin with startup frames. If you've ever seen a Civil War movie, it's immediately obvious why we don't use rifle muskets anymore. It has a ridiculous startup time, and by the time you're able to do any damage, you might already be dead. When it comes to startup, we want it to be faster! But while loading a rifle musket takes a long time, firing it takes a fraction of a second. The time that the bullet is in the air is what we can call active frames, also known as the only time when an attack can do damage. The red hitbox that I showed you earlier represents the active frames, and you'll notice they only appear for a short period of time. Having lots of active frames can be good because the chances of your opponent getting hit by your attack is higher. While flying bullets and kicks have a small amount of active frames, some weapons have a ton of active frames. For example, a flamethrower. As long as the flame is out there, it'll be capable of doing damage in a way that just sticking your leg out there would not. It's no accident that Dalsim's Yoga Flame has a lot of active frames and is what makes this move powerful. Of course, the ultimate active frame weapon would be the lightsaber, because it's always lethal whether you swing it or not. Kendo teachers have actually pointed out that a real lightsaber fight would be more like a mix of kendo and fencing rather than the flashy swordplay you see in Star Wars. After the active frames, the third and final part of the attack is recovery frames.
Alright, hold on. Let's take a second to kind of recap what we think he's talking about. You guys correct me if I have it differently. So basically, the way I'm understanding frame rates, or the way he's explaining what is overpowered, has a lot to do with the hurt box and the hitbox. The hurt box is the part of the character, the avatar that you're actually using, that if met with the opponent's frame box, will give you damage, or your character damage. And your hitbox is sort of the, when you do a move, there's a box, basically their hitbox. Oh, I'm confused. I think you guys understand what I'm saying. So it's more about the hurt box and the hitbox. And right now what I'm understanding is a move that is overpowered usually tends to be one that has a longer active hitbox, or it's larger in comparison to its hurt box. So if you have a small hurt box and you have a large hitbox at that point in time, plus it has a lot of frames like the fireball versus just keeping your leg in the air, then that would constitute to being an overpowered weapon. I think that's basically what he's saying so far, and I agree with what he's saying. I never thought about the frames in this capacity, but I definitely agree with what he's saying so far. So I just want to make sure that we guys are all on the same page. I think that's what's happening here. So let's get back to it.
To explain this one, I'm going to go to baseball. A typical swing in baseball has what's known as the follow-through.
Step 7 is follow through.
And this would be called recovery frames in a fighting game. With the amount of force you're exerting, you have to wait until your follow-through or recovery frames are finished before you can do anything else, such as run towards first base or block. It's unavoidable because physics. But what if you want to hit the ball without all these time-consuming recovery frames? One way to do it is this. Bunting requires much less force, thus requiring little to no follow-through. Of course, you're not going to hit any home runs while bunting, but you're able to run immediately after the ball makes contact with the bat, making it a decent strategy to just get to first base. But what if you want to do a hard swing and have the lack of recovery frames of a bunt? Well, in Street Fighter 4, you could do this with what's known as FADC, or Focus Attack Dash Cancel. The key word here is cancel, which means you can do a hard-hitting move and bypass the recovery frame so that you can begin your next move immediately. If this existed in baseball, it might look like this.
A war hero as Derek Jeter hits one deep to center field. De Jesus back, still back, track, wall!
Canceling is a huge part of fighting games, and they were originally an unintended side effect in Street Fighter 2, originating from its input leniency algorithm. Now with startup, active, and recovery frames out of the way, there are just two more concepts to understand, and that's hit stun and block stun. If you've ever played a beat-em-up game, you've seen this before. Smack an enemy once and watch them have a seizure where they can't do anything for a short period of time. This state is aptly called hit stun, where you can't block and are completely vulnerable to getting smacked again. As you might have guessed, this is how combos can happen in games and in real life. If your attack causes enough hit stun and your next attack has a fast enough startup, you will do a combo. If not, your opponent will have enough time to recover and block the next hit. Block stun is the same concept, except, you guessed it, they're blocking. If your attack causes little block stun and your attack has a lot of recovery, expect your opponent to hit you with a counter attack.
Makes sense.
If you've ever pondered about how ridiculous beat-em-up games are by the fact that one dude can slaughter hundreds of henchmen, it's because your dude, or waifu, has a super fast startup, lots of active frames, short recovery, and causes a shit ton of hit stun and block stun.
Right.
Basically, you are overpowered, and honestly, this feels fun as hell in a single player or a co-op environment. But these beat-em-up mechanics would make for a lousy fighting game, as some of you might have found out when having to commit fratricide at the end of two-player Double Dragon. There's actually a fine line between a fighting game and a beat-em-up, and at one point the two terms were used interchangeably to refer to the same genre. And games like Pit Fighter really blurred the lines by having both cooperative play and versus play in the same game mode. What finally made the distinction of the fighting genre clear was when games focused on the versus play more than single player or co-op, which suddenly made balance a crucial issue. A CPU boss isn't going to complain when you do broken shit like this to him. But beating a human opponent like that might cause this to happen. Now, I understand fighting games being a little broken can be fun, but that's a topic for another video. The point I want to make is that the emphasis on balance through frame data and hitboxes is what brings a game closer to the fighting genre. This is why I think it'd be hard to call World of Warcraft PvP a fighting game, even though it has frame data and hitboxes. It's just not emphasized in a way where people have mapped out entire charts of frame data for nearly every attack and animation, and this is if it's not already in the game. Because the competitive players are the best at finding overpowered moves, they're often hired to help with the development. And this is not too unlike how nefarious hackers end up getting a job doing cybersecurity in the FBI, minus the THC issue. Let me know what your favorite overpowered fighting game move is in the comments. This was Gerald from Core A Gaming. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more.
Guys, definitely go ahead and subscribe to Core A Gaming. Again, his link is in the description. The video itself, the original video link, will be in the description as well. And I do want to take a moment here to have you guys do one thing for me, and that is alright, so welcome back, guys. That is, again, what makes a move overpowered. Now, my original idea is just something that, I can't remember my original idea because he just basically made me agree with everything that he's saying. And I agree with the hitbox, the hit stun. He broke it down beautifully, and that's the reason why I wanted to watch his videos. Very interesting. Hurtbox, hitbox. If you have a larger hitbox and a lot of hit stun, as you find in those beat 'em ups, like he said, then it usually tends to be, you know, a more overpowered move. And I'm trying to think of the most overpowered move I could, you know, that I played, or a game that I played. First thing that comes to mind is Super Smash Brothers Brawl, I believe, with Meta Knight. And he was just too quick. His recovery was unbelievable. Like 6 jumps, able to do 6 attacks in between those 6 jumps. I think it's 5 actually, as well as an up B. Yeah, he used to have so much hit stun, all those things that he talked about. I can't remember all the terminologies right now, but Meta Knight, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, definitely the most OP character that I've ever come across in a true fighting game, not a beat 'em up. I didn't play beat 'em ups in a true fighting game. So there it is. Hopefully you guys like this video. Like I said, go ahead and subscribe to his channel, subscribe to this one, like this video, all that good stuff. Your boy, the Soloist, and I'll see you guys in a later video. Peace.